Most people who own a snake plant have never seen it flower. Not once. They've had the same plant sitting in the corner of their living room for a decade, surviving everything from weeks of neglect to dramatic temperature swings. And it just keeps growing, slowly, steadily, without drama. Then one morning, a tall, slender stalk appears from the center of the rosette, topped with clusters of small, creamy white flowers that release a surprising wave of fragrance after dark. If that's happened to you, you probably had one immediate question: why now? The answer turns out to be more interesting than most plant owners expect, and it connects biology, environment, and centuries of cultural observation in ways that genuinely align. To understand why snake plant flowering is significant, you first need to appreciate just how unusual this plant is. Sansevieria trifasciata, also called mother-in-law's tongue, has earned its reputation as virtually indestructible. It tolerates low light that would kill most houseplants. It survives weeks without water. It handles dry indoor air, temperature fluctuations, and irregular care with indifference. It grows in offices without windows, in bathrooms with no natural light, in corners that most plants would simply give up in. This resilience isn't a coincidence. Snake plant originates from the seasonally dry regions of West Africa, where survival depends on the ability to store water in thick leaves, slow metabolic processes during dry periods, and wait, sometimes for months, for conditions to improve. A plant this adapted to endurance doesn't flower casually. When it does, something specific has happened in its environment. Understanding what that something is reveals a great deal about the plant, and perhaps something about the space it's living in. Botanically, snake plant flowering requires two things to align: sufficient maturity and a specific pattern of environmental stress. Maturity first. Most snake plants need between 3 and 10 years of growth before they're developmentally capable of flowering. Younger plants simply haven't accumulated the resources or reached the biological threshold that makes reproduction possible. This is why someone can buy a small plant, give it perfectly adequate care, and wait years without seeing a single flower. The plant isn't ready yet, regardless of conditions. But maturity alone isn't the trigger. The second requirement is what researchers describe as mild, controlled environmental stress. And this is the part that surprises most plant owners. In its native West African habitat, snake plant flowers during transitional seasons, when conditions shift between dry and wet periods. The plant has evolved to read specific environmental signals as indicators that reproduction is worth attempting. Slightly reduced water availability, roots reaching the limits of available soil space, subtle temperature drops between day and night. These signals communicate one thing to the plant's biology: conditions are changing, and this is a favorable moment to produce seeds. When these same signals occur in your home, the plant responds identically. It doesn't know it's in a living room in Chicago or an apartment in Miami. It knows what its cells are telling it. Resources are limited, seasons are shifting, and it's time to invest energy in flowering. This is why the snake plants most likely to bloom are often those that have been slightly root-bound in their containers for a season, watered infrequently enough that the soil dries completely between waterings, placed in locations where lighter temperature varies modestly between seasons, and left largely undisturbed rather than frequently repotted or moved. None of these conditions represent neglect. They represent an accidental recreation of the plant's natural seasonal environment. There is a less commonly discussed dimension to snake plant flowering that connects the biology more directly to the quality of its environment. Snake plant is one of relatively few houseplants that perform CAM photosynthesis, a metabolic strategy in which the plant opens its stomata at night rather than during the day, releasing oxygen while conserving water. This makes it unusually effective at processing indoor air during sleeping hours. Beyond oxygen production, snake plant has been documented removing volatile organic compounds, formaldehyde, benzene, xylene, and trichloroethylene among them, from indoor environments. New furniture, synthetic carpets, paints, and cleaning products all off-gas these compounds over time, and the plant works continuously to process them. Here's the connection to flowering. This detoxification work requires energy. When a plant is actively processing high concentrations of airborne toxins, significant metabolic resources go toward that function. As indoor air quality improves, whether because the plant has been doing its work, effectively over time, because off-gassing from new materials has completed, or because ventilation has improved, less energy is required for environmental processing. That freed energy gets redirected, and one of the places it goes is toward reproduction. Flowering in this context is a signal that the plant's environment has stabilized to the point where it can afford to invest in something beyond basic survival. Long before plant physiology could explain any of this, people across different cultures were making careful observations about when snake plants flowered and what circumstances surrounded those events. In West African traditions, where the plant originates, a flowering snake plant was considered a meaningful household event, significant enough to be marked, shared with neighbors, and remembered. The interpretation was that the home had reached a state of genuine harmony and stability, and the plant was reflecting that back. Families noted the dates, connected them to periods of relative peace and prosperity, and passed those observations down through generations. In communities across the American South, particularly those maintaining connections to African plant traditions, a similar pattern was documented. Elderly plant keepers interviewed in Georgia and Louisiana described the same consistent observation across decades. Blooming snake plants reliably appeared in households during periods of stability and were frequently followed by positive changes in the family's circumstances. Whether these correlations were causal or observational, the underlying logic is coherent. A home where a snake plant flowers is, by botanical definition, a home where someone has been providing consistent and attentive, if not excessive, care, where light and temperature conditions are reasonably stable, where the plant has been allowed to mature undisturbed, and where the indoor environment is sufficiently clean and stable to allow the plant to shift from maintenance mode to reproductive mode. Those conditions describe an organized, attentive, functional household. It's not surprising that the same households also tend to experience other positive outcomes. In feng shui practice, snake plant is classified as a plant with strong upward moving energy. Its vertical form considered beneficial for spaces that feel stagnant or heavy. When it flowers, practitioners interpret this as confirmation that the energy of the space has reached a balanced, favorable state. The bloom is read as the plant confirming what has already been achieved, rather than predicting what's coming. If you want to give your snake plant the conditions most likely to trigger blooming, the approach is almost counterintuitive by standard plant care logic. Water less, not more. Let the soil dry completely, genuinely completely. Between waterings, in winter, once every 3 to 4 weeks is often sufficient. The slight drought stress between waterings is part of the biological trigger. Resist repotting. When roots begin showing at the drainage holes or the pot feels firm from root pressure, leave it alone for a season. That snug root environment signals the plant to shift its priorities. Allow seasonal light variation. A spot near a window where the plant receives more light in summer and slightly less in winter, naturally without artificial adjustment, mimics the seasonal shifts the plant evolved to respond to. Let temperatures drop slightly in autumn. If nights near a window cool to around 60 degrees Fahrenheit without reaching damaging levels, that thermal variation can be enough to activate the flowering response. And then be patient. The process unfolds on the plant's timeline, not yours. The stalk, when it comes, emerges slowly. The flowers open at night and carry a fragrance that's genuinely surprising from a plant this understated. When it happens, you'll understand immediately why so many people across so many cultures considered it worth remembering.